We're finally live with Maria Appelqvist. I'm sitting in Malmö. Where are you, Maria, right now?
No, I'm in Malmö too.
Okay.
We could have been together.
Yeah. Yeah, but, you travel so much, so I didn't think you were in Malmö. That's why.
Yeah. But this is the new word of technique. You can just show up instant in a conversation online. I love that.
That's awesome. So happy Valentine to everyone. Because it is Valentine's Day to you, Maria.
I'm so privileged to be in a conversation with you on Valentine's Day. Thank you so much, Claudia.
Yeah, same to you. Some people are maybe wondering, are they crazy? Why are they doing this on Valentine's Day? But we're not, actually, because you still have the time to do a lot of other things. And I think I'm really, really excited to get into your head, Maria, and to let other people know about what you've done and what you stand for. So,
and actually, it was the best day of the year to choose a Valentine's Day for making that happen, to get into my brain.
Yeah. So, how did we meet?
How did we meet? Long time ago. We were having conversations about online business on Scandic.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And from there on, we kind of I think we met spontaneously somewhere, on the way from the airport right?
Yeah, it is. And then we ran into each other. We were on the same plane. And
yeah.
We were on the same plane. So it was like this synchronicity happening. And then I got a ride in your car and met your wonderful wife. And we were talking about sex almost the whole way back.
Yes, in the car.
Yes.
So that's a great topic, for Valentine's Day.
It is.
I'm going to hit you with a couple of questions, and it's going to be around half an hour. And at the end, if some people have questions, you can, obviously ask them and see if we can respond to it. Mm-hmm. And, just let's hear it, So what I want to know is, because now it's Valentine's Day and I want to know which 3 things you're most grateful about in your life right now.
What I'm most grateful for?
Yes.
Oh, I think I've been traveling a lot, and I had a temporary home. And okay. I liked my temporary home in a way, but now I actually just moved to a new flat. And for me, beauty and order is super important. And I just realized how grateful I am for making this move. And also, it's something about deciding for the time being to actually be here in Malmö and start work with relationships in Malmö and do my chambre séparée dinners. So there is something about settling in and settling down, and I wasn't there before. So I'm actually grateful for coming to this kind of conclusion in my life that, okay, so now I'm here, I'm taking a deep breath into that and creating the best situation for where I am.
Okay, so it's taking the decision to have this location that you're having right now to do the shift.
Yeah, exactly. It's something about how it is sometimes where you're always on your way to something, and that's how I felt during this period of 3-4 years, that I was always on way. I was looking for what's next rather than actually being present. And I think and still I think I'm a person that are very much present, but it wasn't until coming here and just enjoying. I'm having my office space, I'm having a space I can bring in my VIP clients into. It's just that really landed with me how grateful I am to make this I could make this decision. I think we sometimes as human beings have difficulties to make decisions. Decisions how we want to live our life, decisions of who we want to be in relationships, or if we want to be in relationships. Some people are in relationships, and they are adopting the relationship the whole time. So they are like, should I? Like, yes, no, and so they continue living their life, like if something better shows up, I'm ready to let go. I think a lot of people are having problems with actually committing, and maybe that's the human phenomenon. Who knows?
Do you think it's like that ever? Because you travel quite a lot, right?
Yes, I have traveled.
So do you find it to be like that? People having a hard time committing like everywhere, or is it more cultural?
I think it's culture. Yeah,
okay.
I think it's culture. I think it's also depending on the society you live in. I think there is a huge difference also in the Western world. I think our Scandinavian culture have created a kind of independent feeling that make people maybe much more independent, and we have this kind of lone wolf syndrome. I think we are the country that has most single household, and I'm not making a value statement about it if it's good or bad, but it's also something about we are a society where a lot of people feel alone and isolated and are dying alone as well. So there is something that is happening with this kind of, of the gender equality and the strong welfare state that made us also independent and very self-sufficient from others.
Yeah. While some other countries, because I travel quite a bit myself, they look at, let's say, Scandinavia and Sweden like a great example, So I know, I've talked to officials from Moldavia, for example, and Romania and other countries, and they're looking for, saying, wow, we need to be more individualistic and so on. What do you think about that? Is the grass greener on the other side? Or?
Well, yeah. Isn't that how it always is? I think that's the human phenomenon also, that you think the grass is greener on the other side. So that's why it's also difficult to make decisions, because you're thinking there is something better waiting for you over there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We're going to get back to that. Now, I'm almost sure during the conversation, because I'm a very big advocate of commitment, and in whatever thing you do, so if you don't commit, you'll be left behind.
Well, that's why you're doing what you're doing, because that's why we need people that teach about commitment, because, yeah.
All right. So a little bit of quite a different question now. Who, or, did you have a superhero when you were a kid? And if you had one, who was that?
Modesty Blaze.
Who?
Modesty Blaze.
Okay. And
yes.
What did
I was fond of her. She's still my superhero. I think she was beautiful and flexible and strong and powerful and super brilliant and intelligent and sexy, and she had all these attributes. And she was also strong and independent. That's what I would say. Modesty Blaze. Yeah.
Okay, but she was strong and independent.
Yeah, you see how we are, how the culture have created us.
Yes. That's
strong, independent, sexy, strong. Yeah, it's all this. I think that's also for a lot of women are causing problem, because that independence means also it becomes difficult to surrender and lean into your feminine. Something I've been working on really through my past 10 plus years, really I mean, I used to be very much in my masculine energy. And when I'm saying the masculine energy, I'm saying the logic, rational, structure, goal-oriented, achieving things, like, and really being like that super woman. And I was very, and people were saying I was doing career, and I didn't even think I was doing career myself. And then when I started to appreciate the feminine and realized the feminine rests in the body, that's what men love about women. If women listen to this, it's actually your capacity to be in your body and not in your head. So tapping into and learning to understand my body, and also learning to understand the feminine qualities, and surrendering and being appreciative most of all to that, because our society is valuing the masculine attributes. That's what we see in our society, in workplaces. So the feminine, the intuitive, the mysterious, the messiness, that's not what we're valuing. And that's kind of that. It's almost that witch, finding the witch within, or priestess is that's another force.
So that's very interesting what you're saying. Would you say that we kind of like take on different energies that are not ours? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying we both have, all human beings have both masculine and feminine energies. Mm-hmm. And we both have them. But in our society, women, so what happened with women being in workplace and careers, they become very skillful in cultivating masculine energies, right?
Yep.
And so what happens is, when women cultivate a lot of masculine energies, what happens in relationships? When someone needs to hold the other pole, and that becomes the man in most cases, she has a man, but he, in order to be able to meet her, he has to cultivate his feminine energies, which is great, because now they can create a balance, right? So they becoming the polarities. Mm-hmm. But and I learned this through I've been coaching leaders for many years, and there was a time I was coaching the same people in a workplace, and it was both men and women, and the women were complaining about some other women they were having communication problem with, and problems like that was really a problem. And I asked men, how did they handle the situation? And they didn't even see the problem, because it was natural for them to have strategies how to handle this woman. Mm-hmm. And for me, it just landed like, oh, wow, they are so used at home. Men are so used at home to have strategies how to handle this woman. So at workplace, he's doing the same. So this is how we can understand how communication works, because two masculine energies coming together, what are they doing? Competing, right? They end up in a conflict and a fight. So there is also something about how becoming aware of myself means I'm becoming better in communicating and seeing how can I relate here? So when the ultimate, of course, is that we have access to both our masculine and the feminine qualities. But a lot of women have, due to this cultivating of masculine energy, deprived our feminine. And we don't even know how to assess it, and we don't see the value in it. And as a result, what I'm seeing happen in relationship is that women and men end up in this feeling of, like, women are longing for something else, but they don't know what it is. And he don't know how he can reach her, because he's like tiptoeing in order to not make her furious or angry. So, and that is due to the, how would I say, they are out of alignment with your own sexual energy. And for the majority of men, they are naturally aligned with the masculine energy, and for the majority of women, it's just a few percent that actually are not in line with or not naturally connecting to that.
Okay.
Women also need to find their feminine energy, and here when you understand this, that I can be so this is how feminine energy is, and how feminine energy relates, and this is how masculine energy orient to other people. You understand also the complexities, how to create heat when it comes to intimacy and having a thriving sex life. Because polarities, right? You take a magnet, you have a minus and a plus pole, like holding two plus pole together, what happened? They go against each other. But minus plus the polarities, they attract in. And that's the same function the seeing feminine and masculine energy is having. So when I'm speaking about it, just make it clear, it's not about the roles women and men play in, like role we're wearing mask of being. You can see a lot of beautiful women playing the role of the feminine, but in their way of being, they are super masculine energy.
Okay. Could you say that there are men that naturally are more inclined? I mean, during different periods, because of course it can change depending on what's happening to you in life and everything. But, you know, let's say in one example, you have a man that has more feminine energy.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
is forced to be more, you know, to have more male energy because of the surroundings or because of the expectations that his partner has on him, but he's truly more feminine. Is that common?
What I was saying is there is like a few percent of the population. If you were taking the average of men and women, there is a few percent that would naturally align more of. So if being a woman, I would align more with a masculine energy, or so again, but the majority naturally align with their own sex. And being connected to your own sex, meaning when I'm saying that, actually your genitals and what your genitals are representing. Okay. But so but I think we are socialized, right? So our culture, our parents, we are brought up in a certain way. So a man can be brought up with women, for instance, and having that nurturing feminine around him, and that means he actually connects more to his feminine energy. So in some way, he's actually disconnected from his sex. And I mean, in the same way as women, we could argue again, like women being around boys, being seen as a boy, treated as a boy from her parents, growing up with that kind may also be disconnected actually from her sex, because it becomes a part of, you know, how we're socialized.
And how, sorry to interrupt, because this is really funny. You know, I've been brought up with women.
Yeah.
You know, because my biological father, he left when I was really young. So, I mean, pretty much, of course, I had male figures in my life, you know, but it was a lot of women, you know, friends to my mother and so on and so on. So how would I know if that has affected me? So that is not my natural state, what I'm feeling now. Like, how do you know if you're in alignment? That is the question.
Well, you know, I think it's something that comes probably with age, but it's something that you learn from how you're being in relationships. So you're probably happy and confident with your relationship and what you're having, right? Mm-hmm. And as long as, and usually people don't think about how they're being in their sexual energy until relationships breaks up or something happens that make them just do a reinvention of themselves and what actually happened. And that's how usually a lot of women and men come to the work of understanding their, you know, understanding their own sexuality is through going through what how was I brought up? What kind of programs did I have? How have that impacted me in my relationship? So I can just take one example how I am. I've had a lot of men in my life that since I was in this masculine energy, right, I attracted in men who were more in their feminine energy. And from the beginning, I thought it was fun, right? But then I got bored on them, right? They couldn't meet me. They couldn't hold me. It was like, so I become more like, the big sister or mother or someone I didn't want to be. It just, instead of actually being like a lover or mistress or like, they couldn't fire that feminine part in me. So it wasn't until I leaned in and tapped into my feminine energy, and also in the meeting of men who could hold me and cultivate and capture, and actually calling me out when I'm not in my feminine energy, like I actually learned to feel that the thrill of being a woman, like this is the essence of being a woman. And I never even thought about it before in my life. But I mean, I can see this is one of the reasons probably why I couldn't enjoy my first marriage, where I divorced my husband, because I was longing for something else and I didn't know what it was. And it was also, and that was basically my own disconnection from myself. Like if you don't love yourself fully, it's actually very difficult to be in a loving relationship with another person.
I agree. So a question on the thing that you just said. Now you made a shift, you made a decision, right? To be more aware of your feminine energy, and then you started to both attract and cultivate and keep different relationships. My question is, when you were in the more male energy before making the shift, if someone else would have come in right then with more male energy and more power, could you then have been forced to go to your feminine energy? Because you said that the same energies, they kind of repel each other. Is that happening? I'm just curious.
It's such a great question. I love it. Here's the thing. I've always been out and dancing a lot, and I was always like, when men were approaching me, I was standing and like thinking, I was thinking, you're quite courageous that you actually approached me. I was thinking that. So I was taking that as a kind, because I was holding that mask. I mean, I was so I was holding that mask in front of me, and so of course I attracted in also men that were disconnected from themselves, right? Men who were probably were having a lot of problems with themselves, because I didn't want to be in a relationship. That part of me didn't want to be in a relationship. So I was taking a pride in my independence. I didn't understand the whole debate on, finding the one and finding love. So it's been, I think if someone, even like someone stronger would have, I had that kind of experience, it usually ended up in some kind of fight, because they that kind of men want to see your woman, right? But since I wasn't willing to let her out, because I wasn't aware, it ends up in a fight rather. So it becomes more of a fight or a struggle. I remember one time we actually it ended up in a kind of fight that I was having like a bruise on my mouth, and it was a whole mistake. But I immediately saw his, like, oh my God, she could have accused me for trying to rape her or something. Yeah. But it was it was like a raw fight, because I wouldn't surrender. I wasn't willing to surrender, and So it's something, understanding this is also to understand like how you create that play, that sexual play, and how you can create it also in a safe way. And I think a lot of people that do have sex today, they don't have, now I'm talking about you younger people who watch internet and they learn from what they see, what they are watching on internet, which is actually entertainment and not reality necessary. So when they're watching that and they want to try that out, and they don't have the structures, the procedure for how to create a safety space where she can trust and surrender into the experience of what's happening. And also I think this is how we can understand also how a lot of women become some way traumatized, and that takes also expressions in our physical body. And we might not even see it at the time, but I meet a lot of women who they become tired of having sex, being out with men, or being in a relationship and thinking sex is just another must do achievement I have to do. So I think there is a lot of lack of knowledge, and it's something we usually don't speak about. Sex is something that just happens instead of becoming something that we can cultivate and thrive in and educate ourselves together in and become more skillful.
For sure.
So,
you know, I've just listened to Tim Ferriss, and for you that haven't heard about Tim Ferriss, check him out. He has one of the most successful podcasts, I would say, in the world, interviewing world-class performers and very interesting characters. And one of his podcasts, this was very unusual, even for him, because he chose to interview a sex worker from Nevada called Liza Little. So check out that episode with Tim Ferriss, because she, touches on the things that you say, because as a sex worker is a very taboo word, right? So it's prohibited, and she talks about all the things that people are missing out on, the mechanism behind the relationship, behind the act, the whole knowledge and education that it's being lost, So I'm not going to say anything more about that, but please check out that episode. It's really interesting. And she's a seven-figure income earner as a sex worker, and just the way she describes the whole segment of that industry is mind-blowing, and I've never heard it told like that before.
It is. It's like a new world open up. I know a lot of sex workers actually, and it's like a whole new world open up for what's actually possible, but also the healing work they actually do for a lot of both men and women.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this, Maria?
Oh, that's a question I love, because I didn't start working with sexuality because I wanted to. If I could have run another way, I would probably have done it, and I probably did try to suppress it, but it was part of my personal journey. I think when you're on your self-growth and your personal development, you're looking for what's next for you. And I had been through a lot of coaching, training, and leadership program, and I was working with clients, and I wrote a book about saboteur voices, the Jante culture. I did all these things, and I was looking for what's next for me. And then one of the coaches I was looking to, maybe she was going to be my next coach. I was following her closely on Facebook. She said, come to this promo call. It's a telecall for One Taste new slow sex coaching program. And I just knew I had to be on that on that conversation. And the way, and that was again the turning point for me, was what happened on that line and how these people were capable of speaking about sensations in their body, how they could express and articulate. Like, I didn't even have words in Swedish for how to express sensations in that term. That it was like a whole new that new window opened up for me, and I was like, I have to go in there. And that was the starting point.
When was this in time?
It was in 2010.
Okay.
So it was in 2010, and first time I heard about, like, and I actually went to a polarity training in masculine and feminine. That was in 2005. So it took me actually 5 years to where I was just procrastinating. I didn't go in there, right?
That's a lot of procrastination, 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So because there was one part of me that wanted to continue educate myself in that field, but it wasn't until 5 years later when it actually, when it was probably the right way for me also. So in that way, I was the first trained coach by One Taste in Europe on in practice called orgasmic meditation and slow sex. I'm saying that it's through feeding my own physical body with more than 500 hours of orgasm that I've actually experienced that my feminine core has a voice. Like there is a feminine desire there, and for me, so it's that experience of going through that really made me understand the feminine and masculine energies in a totally new, profound way.
Wow! So you could say that you were already developing, because you went to events, seminars. You were already. Did you write a book before?
Yeah, the book about saboteurs I wrote in 2009. Called You and Your Jante, the travel guide into the land of Jante.
So that was before. Can you still get this book? Like, if you want to order it, or?
Yeah, there is still some books available. It wasn't a bestseller, but there is still books available on that one. It's in Swedish.
It's in Swedish. Okay.
Yeah, but it's also as a like a recorded version on CD. So if you have that in your car, you can listen to it.
Okay, in Swedish.
Yes.
In Swedish. All right. So now some people, because I'm thinking myself here, this segment of what we're talking, you're kind of like going around with programs saying that, hey, I don't want to really talk about it. I don't want to understand it, really. I don't want to listen to it. Some people think that because you kind of block. And in certain ways, I feel it myself, that, hey, where is this conversation leading to? And do I really want to ask more about that? What are they doing there? And
do I really want to know?
And that is proof that I'm having my own programming, obviously,
Yeah. That's why I'm making it a leadership question, because I've been doing my research. So this other part of me is still the researcher, right? So I've been doing my research, interviewing leaders who open up their sexuality, having conversations about sex and leadership and all this I'm bringing together now. So there is a lot of, and I really want to reach out in corporations and speak about it. And some say like, well, my boss wouldn't be willing to that because he would just be red in his face about hearing this conversation. And then I'm saying, well, that means you're in a workplace that are in really trouble because your boss have a problem with what I would call difficult communication. Because if you can't handle and be with this kind of conversations I'm having now, then we have a problem. There is a problem somewhere. Yeah.
So how would you say for a CEO or a manager, what are the benefits of diving into this topic, and concrete benefits for let's say the workforce or the company or the revenue? And so how would you say that?
Yeah, because a leader who really if you are a leader and you have turned inside of yourself in the exploration of what's blocking you, discover your fears, diving deep into your shames, healing your past wounds somehow that we more or less have if we didn't grow up in a family where everything was perfect. Most of us haven't had that experience. So if you're really tapping into and understand all this, you can become capable of relating to your employees and people around you in your workplace in a whole new way. Often in leadership, they speak about the authentic leader. And I think the authentic leader is still someone that is like, we have designed certain kind of skills of what they're doing, but it's how you're being. And that comes from the experience and the awareness around experience. And I think that makes what I'm doing is unique in a way that I'm combining the experience with the coaching, like with the self-awareness. The coaching comes with question, right? And the questions bring awareness. If you go into working with a sexuality worker, or if you just go in, dive there, usually there is a lot of things happening, but in the final end, there is not the coaching around it. So while I'm tying everything that happens here in this situation into how can we track this back to how you, like, now you close down, like you close down now. How are you closing down in other areas in your life as well? So the situation of blocks around intimacy becomes the mirror back into how you're relating in other areas in your life.
I get it more now. Right. Okay, so it's the self-awareness, which is very important point.
It is. Because if you're not self-aware, so there is a lot of great leaders out there, but maybe they are not self-aware in the sense that they are reflecting upon themselves. And that is because we don't have created spaces for that. We have no structure. People don't have structures. They are not used to have that. And that's why I think it also becomes something we don't talk about. And I in some way I've been holding on for this conversation on sexuality and leadership. There was a time I was talking about it, but it felt like the word is not ready. But I think it's time now, and in particular when I just wrote this book on conscious love, which bringing out the consciousness, the aspect of consciousness out. And for me, a conscious leader, that's the ultimate leader. And I'm seeing they are different from the authentic or other kind of leadership, because the conscious leader is self-aware. They reflect, instead of saying, wow, we have a problem with this person here, they're saying, okay, so what is happening? What am I doing? What is happening in the structure of our corporation that is impacting what's happening with my employees?
Is that connected, or can it be connected to emotional intelligence? Or
exactly. So I'm saying the conscious leader they have gone deep, and they have made that growth and expansion, and emotional intelligence is part of that.
Because a lot of scientists and world-renowned thought leaders when asked about what they think about, the development and the future jobs, artificial intelligence, and so on, they all say that the machines will be able to do most of the things that we get educated on, for example, in school. So we kind of teach out education, but the machines will be able to take care of that. And in the future, if as a human, if you want to, be on top and deliver value, that is, first your emotional intelligence, your self-awareness, teamwork, creativity. Those are the things that the machines would not be able to duplicate so well, and that's also going to be an asset. So I think that goes hand in hand with what you're trying to teach.
And we also had this conversation, with the practice of orgasmic meditation. It started in San Francisco, and a lot of people who actually practice it are from the area of Silicon Valley. And you can imagine if people the engineers who are creating the artificial intelligence of tomorrow, if the engineers themselves are not self-aware, if they don't have the capacity to be able to feel, to speak about sensation, how can they then create machines that is actually going to be a better version of ourselves? Or they are creating machines that are going to smash us, like some of us are actually killing mosquitoes.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
So that's why it's such an important topic and skill to learn, to be able to feel other human beings. So, and that comes not from the emotional intelligence. I think it's like it's more and it's not even compassion. Like the feeling I'm talking about is understanding. Like when we're doing orgasmic meditation, or limbic system, the part of the brain back here, is connecting with those you have done this practice with. So when something happens with my practitioner partner in United States, I can feel there is something going on with them. So I text them on Facebook and say, hey, I just want to check in, see how you are doing. And then there's a response confirming that I was right. So it's that kind of capacity to be able to intuitively really feel another human being. And that's the same way of seeing, zebras on the savannah moving. Like, how are they communicating? Right?
Yeah.
It's the sensation aspect of the animalistic part of us. And that's the capacity that your sexual energy has.
Okay. That's really cool. Yeah.
It is.
Because we have heard about, the collective consciousness.
Yeah.
Of the group, even of the world,
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah. And imagine as a leader in a room, like if you're able to actually feel what needs to happen in the room, if you can feel people and you can respond to that, instead of just going in there and delivering your message, which most leaders do.
Yeah, that's a great asset to have, actually.
Yeah.
And, I'm out and about, and my opinion is that emotional intelligence is actually decreasing because of the use of the technology. So, for example, people don't look each other in the eyes anymore when they have a conversation. They have a phone or an iPad that show things. And when was the last time you talked on the phone with someone?
Yeah, exactly. People texting.
Yes.
They text about having sex tonight, and then they don't talk to each other. They're just doing it. So again, like the communication doesn't take place. So it's emotional capacity is a skill of tomorrow that's going to be high rated.
So to shift, gears here, which things or services do you spend most money on? Or let's say a big chunk on your money.
Yeah. I've been spending a lot of money on personal development, my own growth. If I would take into consideration like all the training, all the education I've been doing, we include travels as well there, I probably spent 2 million Swedish crowns, which would be something like $250,000.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It is.
I've spent. I'm saying I'm a personal development junkie. I'm looking the whole time for what's next, and what I want to learn next. I constantly want to learn new things. I'm saying I'm a long life learner.
So if someone's sitting watching, which I know probably is statistically thinking, oh my God, why bother, with the personal development, and, kind of like backfiring now. A lot of people say, oh, it's too much of the positive thinking and optimist and the personal development field and, what's happening. What would you say to such a person? Because you made that quite a big investment, I would say, in that.
Yeah.
What were the gains? Why do it?
It comes from the commitment again. So one of the things for me was, it came to a point where I actually realized that I'm in business because I want to become a better person. The business is forcing me to become a better person. If I was just having a job, it wouldn't force me to become a better person. But due to being in business, there's a lot of skills I need to learn, and things to master, programs around money, how to, create sales conversations, to technical stuff, to all these different aspects of your business. All this to learn have forced me to become a better version of myself. Mm-hmm. And I also know that everything that happens in our life is a mirror of who you are inside. So in some way, we need to find the blocks, or, what's stuck in me, in us, in order to achieve something outside of ourselves. And being in business, I think that's again, like a lot of people are pushing and working hard, and they become burnt out being in business. And I'm seeing there is a new way of creating business, which for me is the feminine way. Maybe it's always existed, or some people had access, but it's, again, and that's about knowing who you are, knowing what you're up to, and being of that service and giving value to other people. So it's coming from a different energy, and being connected to yourself and your life purpose. And I think when you know your life purpose, which is part of your personal development, to coming to some kind of conclusion around that, it's also something that drives, like, that's why my soul is here. I do believe in a higher purpose, and that I have a purpose. I like to have an exciting life, and life becomes more exciting to believe in that perspective. So that's a choice I made, to actually live an exciting life. I follow my life purpose, and that drives me in certain kind of directions to learn new things.
So you would recommend investing in yourself through personal development?
That's and I think in our Scandinavian culture, not even used to. We think the government, the state, the welfare, the priest, couples go to couples therapy, to some non-profit organization. Like, people are not taking professional help with people that have invested a lot of money in order to understand this. I don't understand. I don't understand it. I think there is another thing, is personal development is about people, so coaching is a part of that, right? And I'm seeing it's a totally different paradigm, a different perspective of seeing you compared to the established paradigm where you can go for free to a therapist, psychology or something, because they are seeing you from your problem. So it's again like, so people that are educated in our society, they see the problem in you and treat that, while people that have been on their personal development journey and get the coaching training or whatever they done, right? They seeing you in your higher purpose. And that's two different perspectives of how you can be held in a relationship with someone that, of course, will have different kind of results.
It's completely different. I was just thinking that could be crucial for your whole life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you're getting some kind of symptom from the society that you have ADHD, for instance, and then you become somewhat complicated in how you can navigate your life, rather than a coach that see the best in you and the skills in you and how this is actually an asset in certain areas. Right? So it's totally...
I agree. I just want to raise, the finger of warning, as you say in Sweden, because there is a backside, a flip side with the personal development, and I've seen it myself through the people I had in my team and at events. And the flip side is that you dive so deep into the personal development, so you don't do anything with it. You don't take action. But you know all the books, you've been to all the seminars, you've been to all the events, but then when you look at how much have you applied,
nothing.
It's quite, so we just have to be careful with that too,
It's true. And that's when you, but again, like, that's because they going to personal development events and reading books rather than being with a coach who are holding them and saying, hey, what's happening?
Accountability.
Like 3 weeks ago, you were saying something and it still haven't happened. Like, what's going on with you? Is there something to work on here? Because we procrastinate and we don't even know when we procrastinate.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why you need someone who is skillful enough to just see through that. And I guess that's why you're a good team leader, because you can see through people's bullshit and call them out on them, and that's really important.
All right, so we're almost there. It was a very, very interesting conversation. I know that you're going to be in Malmö on March the 8th at the POW event, the first POW event, as one of the speakers. So we're going to post the link for people, obviously living in the area or from Denmark that want to come and dive deeper. You're going to have a time there to dive deeper into what you're all about. And, the new book that you wrote, can you tell us about that again?
Yeah, the new book I'm writing that is released on March 1st. Mm-hmm. It's called Conscious Love, Soulful and Intimate Connection. And I interviewed 8 conscious couples. So you will learn what means consciousness and what's the different loving relationships these conscious couples are creating compared from ordinary people, but other people who are not there. And actually, what you're learning is the difference between the romantic idea of understanding love and relationships that has brought us up and that are still dominating our Western world, and the conscious love paradigm I'm elaborating on, which is a totally different perspective. So
you can put some comments on how to get that and leave comments in the field below.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Maria Appelqvist, for being my first, object of interviews through Facebook Live.
Yeah, I'm honored. Thank you for.
And it's really great to have you as one of the speakers at the POW event in March. So happy Valentine to you and to everyone watching. And we'll be back with the Red Glove series. Thank you for tuning in. Happy Valentine.
Thank you.